Hi, guys. All right, we are on the fifth reading of It Ain't So Awful Falafel, page 110. The following Sunday, as I'm searching my dad's closet for a Halloween costume, someone knocks on our door. My mom and I answer. And standing there is a human kaleidoscope, a man wearing a green and pink striped polo shirt with a collar up, light and dark green plaid pants, and shiny white shoes. Hello, neighbors. I think this belongs to you, he says, holding up our pool key. Remember? My mom and I are shocked. We thought the key was lost forever. Before I can say anything, my mom whispers, Inchi push dide. What is he wearing? There is no time to explain golf attire to my mom, so I say, my mother wants to thank you. No need to thank me, neighbor. I'm Skip, he says. I saw your flyers a while ago and found your key behind the bushes while walking my dog this morning. I said to myself, Skipper, whoever owns this keychain is a friend of yours. You see, I love fishing, I love bulldogs, and I love beer. So, here you go. He hands the keychain to my mom. I live in the house around the corner, the one with the sign on the front, and that says, an old sailor lives here. Please tell your husband that the next time he wants to go fishing, I'll bring the beer. Thank you, my mother says. Thank you very much, I add. As soon as I shut the door, my mom says she wants to make some Persian food for Eskip to thank him. I suggest buying him a box of C's assorted chocolates instead. My mom thinks that's a very bad idea, of course. Before I know it, she has opened one of her precious jars of grape leaves from Iran and is busy cutting off the stems. The onions and ground beef are in the pan, and the smell of cilantro and turmeric fills the house. That night, my mom hands me a paper plate of stuffed grape leaves arranged in two circles with a sprig of mint like a tiny tree in the middle. It looks nice, but I'm sure Skip is a hamburger and fries kind of guy. He might never return another lost item again. Americans drink grape juice and moisturize their lips with grape-flavored lip smackers, but I know that eating grape leaves probably seems as wrong to them as eating the garden hose. On my way to Skip's house, I throw away the plate in the Greenbelt trash can. I immediately feel bad. It's the first time I've ever thrown away a plate of food. I decide to go to Skip's house anyway. I turn the corner and look for the sailor sign. His house is easy to find, and when he opens the door, I say, Hi, I'm Cindy, and I just want to thank you again for returning our pool key. I'm the one who lost it. Skip smiles and says, How sweet of you to come by. You know, I always say that a stranger is a friend I haven't met yet. So I'm glad you lost your lost key made me make a new friend. And you look like you might be the same age as my son. Do you go to Lincoln Junior High? Yes, I answer. Skip turns around and yells, Brock, get down here. As soon as I hear the name Brock, I feel sick. Dear God, please tell me Brock is a common name in Newport Beach and this isn't the same jerk from English class. A few seconds later, Brock shows up. It's the same jerk from English class. Brock, this is Cindy, our new neighbor. She's at Lincoln too. Brock just stands there, one of his eyes hidden under his side sweat bangs. What do you say, Brock? Skip asks, sounding slightly annoyed. Nice to meet you, he says, clearly not meaning it. I want to say, we already met on the first day of school. Remember how you made fun of me in front of the whole class? Instead, I say, nice to meet you too, but I don't mean it either. Sensing that there is not going to be any more conversation between me and Brock, Skip jumps in. Well, this has certainly been a terrific evening. Thank you again, I say. As I turn around to leave, Skip adds, See you later, alligator. Or as Brock likes to say, see you soon, raccoon. I can hear Brock's voice as I walk away. Stop saying that, Dad. I never say that. I'm glad he's embarrassed. I am horrified. What are the chances? Now I have two people to avoid in my neighborhood, Brock and original Cindy. When I get home, I tell my mom that Skip thanked her. See, my mom says, everyone loves stuffed grape leaves. Before I know it, it's Halloween, my favorite holiday in the whole world. This will only be my third one. I am so bummed that I've missed celebrating at least 4 Halloweens in my life because we didn't live in America. The closest thing we have in Iran is the one night during the Persian New Year when we go door to door and people give out adchil, which is a mix of nuts and dried fruits. That's it, nuts and dried fruit at every house. I used to think it was fun until I experienced Halloween. It's like thinking seesaws are fun until you go on a roller coaster. Kids in Iran would love Halloween. Actually, every kid in every country in the world would love it. If you're a kid and you don't like Halloween, well, that's just not possible. Carolyn has asked me to go trick or treating in her neighborhood. Rachel is invited too. Rachel's going to be a cat, and Carolyn says her costume is a surprise. I'm going to be a hobo and wear my dad's old jacket and put brown makeup on my cheeks to make them look dirty. I will also tie a scarf on a broomstick, fill it with socks, and swing that over my shoulder. It's supposed to hold all my worldly belongings since I don't have a home, just like the hobos in the American movies I saw in Iran. I make the mistake of telling my mom about my costume. Now that she isn't giving me the silent treatment because of the pool key, she won't stop bossing me around. I wish Skip had waited until after Halloween to find it. My mom says I should wear a nice dress and she will put makeup on me like a Rita Hayworth. That's my mom's favorite American actress, even though she's from 1,000 years ago. My mom does not comprehend that it is now 1978 and hobos are way more popular than Rita Hayworth. When they were teenagers, my mom and her sisters collected black and white photos of American movie stars. They thought these actresses were the most glamorous women in the world and they wanted to be just like them. My mom still has the photos in her top drawer. Unfortunately, my mom does not understand that A, I will never look like Rita Hayworth, no matter how much makeup she puts on me, and B, that it is possibly the worst costume in the history of Halloween. She says, "Why would a girl want to dress up like a beggar?" I tell her that everyone here tries to have funny or scary costumes, and dressing as a hobo in Newport Beach is not the same thing as being a beggar in Iran. "Mama," I say, trying to explain the difference. "Living like a hobo is a lifestyle. A hobo hangs out near the train tracks, sharing his one can of beans with his hobo friends, while another strums the banjo, singing sad songs from the heart. Hobos hop on the train without paying, going from town to town looking for work, and they don't mind having grime on their faces because they have each other in their dreams." "Gadahaya divana," she says, shaking her head. Crazy beggars. "It's just a Halloween costume," I remind her. My mother looks very disappointed. It's as if she's confusing Halloween with career day. I finally realize there's nothing that will make her understand. She's upset, but what can I do? I'm going as a hobo anyway. I ask my parents if they are planning to give out candy or keep the lights off and pretend to not be home. My dad says they're leaving the lights on, but that he bought miniature boxes of raisins since kids in America eat too much candy. I certainly hope no one figures out where I live. I don't want to be remembered as the girl whose family handed out dried fruit. In second grade, my first year in America, all the kids came to school on Halloween wearing their costumes except me. The class was filled with cowboys, ghosts, and princesses. I felt so bad being the only one who didn't know about this. When you move here, no one gives you an instruction sheet on what happens during holidays. I liked the costumes, especially the ghosts, but there was no way my mom would have ever let me make holes in bed shirts for the eyes. Plus, all our sheets had flowers on them. And who's ever heard of a floral ghost? Then right before lunch, Mrs. Hensley, who was a really nice mom who also helped in the classroom, told me to go outside in the hall with her for a minute. She tied a handkerchief around my head, gave me a bunch of bracelets, wrapped a long skirt around me, and said I was a hippie. I didn't know what a hippie was, but I was so happy that I had a costume because after lunch, the whole school paraded around the basketball court. That's what Tennessee Williams meant when he wrote about the kindness of strangers. If Mrs. Hensley hadn't brought me that outfit, my costume would have been sad kid from foreign country. I thought the costume parade at school was all there was to Halloween. We had only been in America for a couple months and had no clue about trick-or-treating. My English wasn't great back then, so even if the kids had been talking about it, I wouldn't have understood. That night, when the first group of kids rang our doorbell, we had no idea what they wanted. My parents just told them their costumes were cute, but the kids stood there staring at us, and finally one of them said, "Where's the candy?" We didn't have any candy, so we gave out all the apples, oranges, and bananas we had. When we ran out of fruit, we gave out pickling cucumbers. Iranians always have massive amounts of little cucumbers in their houses. If there's ever an emergency that requires huge amounts of small cucumbers, Iranians will be instant heroes. I don't want to think about our first sad Halloween anymore. Tonight, my father is going to drive me to Carolyn's house. I go upstairs to get ready. I put on my dad's coat, roll up my jeans a little bit, grab a stick with a bundle attached to it, and spread some of my mom's brown eyeshadow on my cheeks. I know she wouldn't want me to touch her makeup, so I only use a little bit. I go to the garage as fast as I can to avoid my mom, but she still to me. "There's something on your face," she yells as I run past her. "Okay," I answer. That's practically the most important part of my costume. Hobos' faces are always dirty in the movies. "Nice costume," my dad says as I get in the car. He's been sitting there listening to the radio. "Are you dressed as a father? And there's something on your face." "No, I'm a hobo, like in the movies." Thankfully, he goes back to listening to the news, so our conversation stops. That's all he's been doing since the president of Egypt and the prime minister of Israel won the Nobel Peace Prize. On the way there, he says, "What a year. Egypt and Israel found peace, although Jimmy Carter should have won the Nobel too. Anyone can destroy a bridge, but it takes great people to build one. Zomarad, always remember 1978. This is a great year." As soon as we enter the gates of Harbor View Hills, I am 100% sure that I will always remember 1978. This is a great year indeed. The neighborhood looks like the haunted house ride at Disneyland. Every house is decorated to the max. Some people have set up entire graveyards on their front lawns. There are life-size monsters on porches and ghosts and skeletons hanging from trees, and carved pumpkins everywhere, and not just one per house. When we arrive at Carolyn's, I jump out of the car saying goodbye as I slam the door. Thankfully, my dad likes Carolyn, so he's letting me go trick-or-treating without him for the first time. The Williams' front door is now decorated with a wreath of orange flowers. 2 seconds after I ring the bell, Carolyn answers, takes one look at my plastic pumpkin-shaped bag that I just bought at Save-On, and hands me a pillowcase. "I knew you'd have one of those useless pumpkin bags. They're way too small for heavy-duty trick-or-treating," she explained. In Compton, I went trick-or-treating for the first time in 3rd grade. I didn't have a costume, so I put on an apron, grabbed a big spoon, and went as a mom. It was stupid, but that wasn't even the worst part. I was only allowed to go trick-or-treating on our street with my dad, and after every house he'd say, "I think that's enough." He just wasn't comfortable with the idea of going to strangers' houses and asking for candy. I was. After Carolyn gives me the pillowcase, she shows me her costume, which she hasn't put on yet. It's a box of Arm & Hammer baking soda. I don't know what that is, but it looks real, and all the lettering is even and perfect. Her mom and dad made it with her, she tells me. Every year we try to do something unprecedented, which means something that no one else has done. Next year I suggest you should dress like a dictionary because you are one. That's a good idea, she says. Rachel arrives right after me, and her costume is really cute. She has a black leotard, cat makeup, ears, and a tail. Carolyn has already planned our route. We start trick-or-treating on her side of the street, then go across. We walk as fast as we can. Sometimes we run. Carolyn was right. This is heavy duty. An hour into trick-or-treating, I have among my treasure trove 9 full-size candy bars. I had never gotten even one full-size candy bar in Compton. I didn't even know people handed those out. The neighborhood is full of kids, mostly dressed as masked monsters and vampires, running from house to house. The little ones have parents with them, and even the parents are dressed up. It's really exciting being without an adult. It's not scary, even after it gets dark. We trick-or-treat for 2 hours. Our pillowcases are completely full by the time we stop. At almost every house we visited, someone said, "Arm & Hammer baking soda, that is the best costume. And such a cute cat." Then they'll turn to me. "And what are you dressed as?" "I'm just a hobo down on my luck, living by the train tracks, sleeping under the bridge," I explained. They just looked confused. "You know, like in the movies?" "That's nice," they said, looking even more confused. Maybe the American hobo movies I saw in Iran weren't all that popular here. My mom was right. I should have gone as Rita Hayworth, or maybe a floral ghost. When I wake up the next morning, I realize that Newport Beach is really starting to feel like home. I think about all the fun I had with Carolyn and Rachel, and I can't believe that for the first time since we came to the U.S., I have friends. I like all my classes at Lincoln. Even PE isn't too bad anymore. We're getting ready for something called the Presidential Physical Fitness Test. We run, hang from bars, and do sit-ups while Coach McAndrew blows her whistle a lot. Everyone hates it except me. We don't have to pick teams, and there is no tumbling or dodgeball. Then, boom, just like that, my dad bursts my happy bubble. He tells me that the sons of his former coworker, Mr. Shutari, are coming to stay with us for 2 weeks. They want to go to college in America, and their father has asked us to host them. He's an engineer like my dad, except that he's rich. Mr. Shutari owns 2 vacation homes in the south of France and an apartment in London. Everyone knows that people like him take bribes, but that's just a part of life in Iran. Accepting bribes is a job skill, like knowing how to type or use a copy machine. My dad says that Mr. Shushtari really knows how to work the system. I wish the two brothers weren't coming to stay in our house. It's going to be a lot of extra work for my mom and, of course, for me, since I have to help her. I don't get any say in that. I never have a say in anything. My parents are not like Mr. and Mrs. Brady on TV who constantly talk to their kids about their feelings. Even their maid Alice is always asking, "So, dear, how do you feel about this?" My parents just tell me what to do. How I feel about something doesn't matter. My dad says the boys, Puya and Puyan, are 19 and 20 and have never been to America, but they speak some English. That's good because I do not want to be a translator for any more people, especially two strange boys whom I dislike already. As soon as I see Carolyn at lunch, I tell her about their impending visit. 2 complete strangers for 2 weeks? That's a long time. That's how it is with Iranians. Guests stay for as long as they want. It's part of something called tarot. If someone asks you for a favor, you can't say no. You always say yes to be polite, even if you don't mean it. That's crazy, Carolyn says, unwrapping her sandwich. When we lived in Compton, my uncle Fatola came to see Disneyland and stayed for a year and a half. That wasn't tartoff because we were happy to have him. But that's the tricky part. You can't tell when an offer of tarot or when it's real. You can't tell when an offer is tarot or when it's real. Someone might invite you and not mean it. You have to figure out what the person really means. Sounds like a riddle, says Carolyn. It kind of is. On the day they arrive, my dad and I drive to the Los Angeles airport to pick up Puya and Puyan. The airport is an hour away, but that doesn't bother my dad. He loves driving on American freeways. No potholes and lots of signs, he always says. But even though there are signs, we get lost. All the freeways have east and west and north and south, so while we get the number right, we still manage to go in the wrong direction. By the time we figure out how to get back on the right freeway, we're an extra half hour away from the airport at least. This happens every time we go somewhere. My dad says, "We get to see more of America that way." My mom hates the freeways. She thinks they're too confusing and the cars go too fast. Luckily, my dad always leaves an hour earlier than we need to, so I'm not worried about getting to the airport on time. Eventually, we are at the gate waiting, watching all the passengers. I notice 2 guys wearing really tight jeans and shiny gold necklaces. Right then, I think, dear God, I hope that's not them. They come up to my dad and say, "Salam, Mr. Yusufzada." Ugh. They're tired from their long flight, so they don't say much during the drive home, which is fine with me. What is not fine with me is that they stink. Their cologne smells like the water from my goldfish bowl mixed with that smell in the doctor's office because you get a shot before you get a shot. I roll down my window so I can breathe. When we get home, they give us a bunch of gifts, all of which smell like them. They give my mom a Persian miniature painting, a package of dried limes for stews, and a box of pistachios. The pistachios on top are really big, and all the rest underneath are tiny. All packages of pistachios from Iran are like that. Puya and Puyan give me a traditional Persian villager costume. It's a shiny purple, blue, and red skirt and blouse with tiny coins sewn all over it. There's also a little beanie that has lace with more sparkly things on it. "Thank you, I love it," I say. This is 100% tar off. Puya and Puyan smile. They don't care. What am I going to do with a traditional Persian village costume in Newport Beach? Possible scenario. Person handing out full-size Butterfinger bars on Halloween. And what are you dressed as, young lady? Me? Oh, this is just a traditional costume from the Rashta region of Iran. Person handing one out full-size Butterfinger bars to everyone but me. I don't know where that is, but I assume you'd prefer a piece of fruit for your camel? As I'm putting away the useless costume, I wonder if Puya and Puyan know that their names are totally rude in English. When you learn English in another country, you don't learn words like poo. You learn polite things like, excuse me, sir, when does the bus arrive? Or, could you, madam, kindly guide me to the main directory? You learn things that no one actually says in America. That's why even though my dad knows English, he can't talk to any Americans. He knows the English in books, not the English that comes out of people's mouths. My mom started cooking for the Pooh brothers days before they arrived. She washed, dried, chopped, and fried cilantro, parsley, onions, eggplants, and scallions. I had to help her peel and clean the vegetables and herbs, and then wash and dry all the extra dishes. There were a lot. After we thank them for the gifts, my mother says that the food is ready. We all go to the dining room. My mom has set up the table. The boys ooh and ah. That's a shoma dard nakana, they say. May your hand not hurt. That's a Persian expression you say when someone has done a lot for you. No, my mom says, this is nothing. We sit down and my mom passes the plates of food around. I wish I could have made more, but it's hard to find ingredients here, she says. I wish she didn't say that, but that's Taro. Oh no, this is wonderful, the brothers say, echoing each other. This doesn't even count, my mother responds. It counts for me. I was the one stuck helping her clean all those herbs and dishes. I hate Taro. The Pooh brothers take their rice, 2 kinds of stew, and some chicken. We all start eating, and my dad asks them about their plans. They tell him how excited they are to see schools here. Then they take seconds. Less conversation this time. Just my dad lecturing them about useful college majors. The Pooh brothers are not listening. Then they take thirds, cleaning out the rice platter, both stew containers, and the rest of the chicken. My mom is so happy. I'm not. It's like watching vultures eat an entire zebra on a National Geographic special. I have so much to tell Carolyn. The next day, after the Pooh brothers finally wake up, my mom tells me to take them to the pool. We're not allowed to let guests go by themselves. That's in Chapter 4. Pool rules. All guests must be accompanied by a resident. It's Saturday afternoon, and the last thing I want to do is spend the day with these two. Just my luck. They actually want to go. I think about asking Carolyn to come with me, but decide not to. I'm just too embarrassed. I have been in Newport Beach for less than 6 months, and now I have the 2 biggest weirdos in the world staying with me. The Pooh brothers go to their room to change and come. I have to wave my arm around for a second. There we go. And come out a minute later. I think I'm going to barf. Their bathing suits are like teeny tiny bikini bottoms. I have never seen a man in America wear such a thing. To make things worse, the brothers are way hairier than any man I have ever seen. It's like King Kong and his brother Ding Dong are visiting us for the sole purpose of ruining my new life. The brothers keep saying how they are so excited to go to the pool to meet California girls. I pray that no one I know is there, especially Original Cindy. Puya says that he is going to call himself Elvis. He knows California girls really like Elvis Presley, so this will help him meet them. I don't think anything will help him. Puyan says he's going to tell the girls his name is John, like John Wayne. When we get there, I sit by the barbecue to do my math homework, acting as if I came by myself. Chapter 4, Pool Rules, just says we have to accompany our guests to the pool. It does not say we have to hang out with them or admit to knowing them. I glance at the brothers who are setting up their towels next to a group of girls. Ew. I take out my math worksheets and my eraser and sharpen 2 pencils. I take another quick peek at the brothers. The girls have moved to the other side of the pool. At dinner, Puya says that the girls at our pool are too young and do not appreciate men. He asks me if any of my friends have older sisters. I pretend I don't hear him. When he asks again, I try changing the topic. Tell me about your necklace, I say. The brothers wear identical, huge gold charms shaped like Iran with a turquoise stone where Tehran is. My mom gave us these so we never forget where we're from, Puya says. That's lovely, my mom says. I don't think it's lovely at all. What kind of person forgets where he's from? I could have lived in America for the rest of my life, and I would never forget my aunts, uncles, and cousins in Iran. I could never forget Persian food or the Caspian Sea. The Caspian Sea is the most beautiful place I have ever seen. We used to go there every summer for a week with my cousins. It was a 2-day drive, but that was part of the fun. The closer we got, the greener it got. We'd roll down the windows and sniff the air, which smelled completely different from Abadan. Abadan did not smell nice. You know when your mom or dad spills gasoline on their clothes when they're pumping gas and then gets back in the car? That's what Abadan smells like. During lunch one day, Howie told me the scent of oatmeal raisin cookies reminds her of home. I told her that for me, it will always be the scent of gasoline. When we first moved to California, we couldn't wait to see the beach. The first weekend after we moved in, we took the freeway to Long Beach, got out, and ran to touch the water. It was so cold. We stood there looking around. There were no seashells, and it didn't smell like the Caspian Sea. We only stayed about 15 minutes. There was something missing. On the drive home, my dad said, "Isn't it strange how you can actually miss a place, not just people?" It's day 4 of the Pooh Brothers invasion. I'm at my desk doing homework. My mom comes in and dumps a huge pile of clothes on my bed. "Fold these," she says, walking out of my room. None of it is ours. I start folding and putting everything in piles. Shirts, pants, socks, gross. Undershirts and underwear, super gross. Their shirts still smell like them. That industrial strength cologne they use does not come out with hot water. At school the next day, I tell Carolyn about Mount Laundry. "You wash and fold their clothes?" she asks, stunned. "They're our guests," I remind her. "We wouldn't do that," she answers. "We have this expression in Persia, Gadam Ru Shushan, that literally means you can step on my eye. It's our way of telling our guests that we will do whatever to make them happy." "They're stepping all over you, not just your eye," Carolyn says, laughing. On Friday, the brothers ask my father if he can take them to car dealerships on Saturday and Sunday. They are particularly interested in Camaros. My dad tells them they should get a large solid car instead of a speedster like a Camaro. They're not listening, but my dad keeps talking. I know they are going to buy a Camaro no matter what, and their car will smell like them. At least this gives me a chance to go to Carolyn's. Finally, I haven't been there since the brothers arrived. "Zomorod," my mother says, "I need your help in the kitchen both days." There goes my happiness. I know that if I don't help my mom, she will stay mad for a long time. That's how she is. It's easier to do what she wants than to fight her. I never win anyway. On Saturday, I'm sitting in the kitchen, taking leaves off the stems of a huge pile of cilantro. My mom is frying onions. "So what do the brothers do while I'm at school?" I ask. "They wake up late and go to Fashion Island Mall," she says. "Do you like having them here?" I ask. "They're Mr. Shushtari's sons," she replies. That doesn't answer my question. My mother ignores me. We're definitely not the Brady Bunch. I spend the entire weekend in the kitchen. To top off this festival of joy, I also have to fold their laundry again. Why do they have so many dirty clothes? On Monday, Carolyn says, "How come you didn't call me all weekend?" "Don't ask," I say. "But if I ever see another herb, onion, or men's underwear again, I will barf." Carolyn laughs. The big day is finally here. The Pooh brothers are leaving. Thank you, God. I won't have to go to the pool with them anymore or fold their laundry. They've decided to apply to UCLA. I don't care where they go, as long as I never have to see them in their bathing suits again. Before they leave, Puyan says, "Hey, Somarad, make friends with all the pretty girls." Puya adds, "So you can introduce us to them in a few years, okay?" Then they both laugh as if they're clever. I really can't stand these two. They thank my mom and tell her that she cleaned their clothes better than anyone else. My mother tells them they are welcome to stay with us whenever they want. After they leave, I tell my mom that they were just saying that about the clothes because they knew they were a pain to have in our house. My mom says I should really try harder to be a nicer person. The day after the brothers leave, my mom asks me to take a plate of festanjun decorated with radish roses next door to the Klein. She says that Puya and Puyan were noisy late at night, for these past 2 weeks, and the Kleins were very nice and did not complain, even though we share a wall with them. I tell her that Americans would probably not like Fessenjune because it looks like mud. I don't even say anything about the radish roses, which also look muddy. My mom says that Fessenjune is one of the most delicious and exotic Iranian foods, and I should never say such a terrible thing. I should also try to be a nicer person. As soon as Mrs. Klein opens the door, I say, "Hello, Mrs. Klein. My mom has sent this plate of Fessenjune." Before I can tell her that it has pomegranate syrup in it from my country, David says, "Ooh, that looks like mud." I want to say, "But it tastes good," because it really does, and my mom would want me to say that. Instead, I say, "It does not taste like mud at all." David looks skeptical, but I just shrug and turn to leave. I don't think they're going to try it. Mrs. Klein says, "This looks wonderful and exotic. Please thank your mother for it." "I will," I say. With the Pooh brothers finally gone, I can concentrate on the most important event happening soon in America, Thanksgiving. According to all the magazines I have read at the supermarket, there are 3 things you need at Thanksgiving: a big family, a long table, and a turkey with all the trimmings. This is a huge problem. My mom doesn't know how to make any of the required foods. We also do not have family or a long table. Our Thanksgivings so far have been just like any other meal. This year, though, with a little help from El Rancho Market, I have solved the problem. We just have to order it at least 2 days before Thanksgiving, I explained, showing my mom the advertising flyer, and we get a complete meal already cooked. It's so easy. Can we please do this? "The turkey is too big for 3 people, she replied. According to Good Housekeeping magazine, there are dozens of meals we can make with leftover turkey. Turkey sandwiches, turkey soup, turkey casserole, turkey. "No," my mom cuts me off. "And why would you want a meal cooked by strangers?" "Because I want to try turkey with the official stuff that goes with it." "Persian food is better," she insists. When my dad comes home, I ask him if we can at least buy a pumpkin pie at El Rancho. How am I supposed to do well in school if I don't experience such an important part of America, I plead, making a particularly sad face. "Okay," he says, "let's go." My mom rolls her eyes. My dad and I drive to El Rancho and buy not only a pumpkin pie, but also cranberry sauce. I knew that linking Thanksgiving with school would put him in a generous mood. A few days later, we sit at our kitchen table to eat our holiday meal. My mom has made lamb shanks with rice, dill, and lima beans. My dad grabs the can opener for the cranberry sauce. I watch him turn the handle until the lid pops off. This is our best Thanksgiving yet. He turns the can upside down. Nothing comes out. He turns the can back up and peers inside, then turns it upside down again, taps it on the bottom, and gives it a good shake. A purple, shiny tube with ridges slides out and makes a popping sound as it lands, wiggling on the plate. It looks like a newborn alien. "What is that?" my mom asks. "That's not a sauce." "I don't know," my dad answers, carefully touching the wobbly mass with the tip of his finger. "Doesn't look like any of the pictures in Good Housekeeping magazine." "It's gone bad," my mom announces. "At least we have pie. We eat our dinner quickly, like we always do. I don't have seconds because I want to have room for a slice of America, which is what pumpkin pie really is." My mom brings the dessert to the table and places a slice on each of our now empty dinner plates. I taste it. It's absolutely delicious. I quickly take another bite. "It's too sweet," my mom says. She puckers her face and takes another bite. "Too sweet," my dad agrees with his mouth full. A few minutes later, our plates are empty. I reach for another helping. "I'll have more too," says my dad, holding out his plate. "Give me a small piece," says my mom. "Just a little." I give her a slice. "That's too small," she said. I give her more. I serve my dad a big slice. "Too sweet," they both say, digging in. We eat in silence. A few minutes later, my mom gets up to put away the dirty dishes. My dad grabs the pie tin. "Let's just finish the rest, Somaran." This time we eat the pie directly out of the pan. "You just have to get used to the flavor," he says, tilting the empty tin to slide the remaining crumbs directly into his mouth. "Don't get any on the floor," my mom reminds him. "It's too late for that." I go to get the vacuum cleaner. It was worth every crumb. Okay, guys, we are going to stop there. We are on page 140, and we will start again next session. Bye-bye.